These right here. These were my era of Cartoon Network, kinda. Some of these were a little bit before my time, but I was still watching them because they were coming on channels like Boomerang. But Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Codename Kids Next Door, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy. You know, this is the time that I was watching Cartoon Network. The golden era of cartoons, in my opinion. The most golden of the eras of cartoons, in my opinion. The era of, like, Danny Phantom, My Life as a Teenage Robot. Those are Nickelodeon cartoons, but still, like, this is my era. The worst era of Cartoon Network. I'm gonna take a guess and say it was, like, right around the time when Teen Titans Go started coming on. That was what launched this worst era of Cartoon Network. That's when I fell off of it. I was still even watching cartoons when I stopped watching Cartoon Network. And I was only watching Adult Swim when I was watching Cartoon Network. Anyway, let's get on to the video. The worst era of Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network, a legendary TV channel known for, you guessed it, cartoons.
What?
Adventure
You don't
Time,
say.
regular show.
They didn't have just cartoons on there, though. They sometimes had some live action shows, especially on Adult Swim.
Samurai Jack, Gumball, the Powerpuff Girls, and the list just goes on and on. Yes, Nickelodeon.
Gumball came out toward the end of me watching cartoons on Cartoon Network. The regular show was the very last cartoon that I watched on Cartoon Network. I watched that show end, and then I was done. I didn't even watch Adventure Time.
And ICU, and Lord knows, you got some incredible shows.
I've never seen Adventure Time.
But I think we all know who wears the crown here. But what if I told you there was a time when Cartoon Network lost its way? And for some reason, decided to make live-action shows?
Yep, I remember this.
My God, you're called Cartoon Network.
Yeah, all that happened after I stopped watching.
What were you thinking?
Well, they didn't have any good ideas anymore. They were throwing anything at the wall, seeing what would stick, because they lost all of their great IPs.
First Canadian cartoons, and now this?
Oh, watch out, she's gonna blow!
What is this, Total Drama Island? But for kids?
Disgusting. But it's safe to say that 2009 was the worst year in Cartoon Network's history. Get that?
Yeah, 2009. That was like, I think 2008 is when I stopped watching Cartoon Network.
2009 was the only year in the company's entire history without a new animated series premiering whatsoever. Now, that
Wow.
might not seem
Okay.
as crazy by today's rock-bottom standards of shows getting canceled left and right, but at the time, this was a major issue for a TV channel.
Yeah, is there even any, like, great cartoons out that's, like, on par with my era of cartoons? Like Billy and Mandy, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Fairly Odd Parents, anything, like, as good as those shows? Because I don't ever hear anything about anything.
That became synonymous with animated shows. So that begs the question, what led them to this lowly point?
Anime? Probably. I think it was anime. I think anime was just better. And people started watching more of that everywhere else. Started watching anime that Cartoon Network couldn't get a hold of.
Well, they were going through a messy identity crisis, with the groundwork for all of this starting a few years earlier. Mostly, it was a string of bad luck that hit them all at once. First, there was the Aqua Teen Hunger Force bomb scare in Boston on January
I didn't know about
31st,
this.
2007. Yes, really. What was intended to be a marketing campaign for the Aqua Teen movie instead created a ton of controversy for
I remember when this movie was coming out, I didn't know there was any controversy around it.
Cartoon Network's parent company. And obviously, the objects in question were not really bombs, just a series of LED signs that were placed around areas of the city. I mean, have these guys seriously never used a light bright before? Hello? I have no idea.
No, old people in government, old people in the government are fucking stupid.
But one way or another, these signs were suspicious enough to cause an all-day police investigation. The backlash got so bad that Turner Broadcasting paid $2 million to the Boston police force for the trouble, as well as then head of Cartoon Network, Jim Samples, resigning in the scandal aftermath.
Holy shit, a bunch of stuff happened because of this one crazy event.
I guess it really blew up in his face.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, just because a bunch of old people misunderstood what was going on, and another old person who was behind this stunt, had no idea what he was doing either. So it was just a whole bunch of fucking idiots being idiots.
Was replaced by Stuart Snyder, who made a mixed bag series of choices that noticeably affected Cartoon Network's lineup. And for every win, there was a loss. He greenlit Regular Show, hell yeah. But he also
Based?
greenlit Problem Solvers.
Never heard of it. Looks fucking ridiculous.
Ew, yuck.
It looks like if Psychic Pebbles wasn't good at art. That's what it looks like. It looks like somebody trying to emulate Psychic Pebbles, but not in a good way.
But the two most controversial decisions from Snyder's tenure were axing Toonami in 2009.
So this guy was the one behind axing Toonami. How could you do that? This is like the thing that is the most recognizable for Cartoon Network nowadays. We look back fondly at Toonami, which is still going.
And creating CN Real, their first major venture into live action programming. Cartoon Network made this pivot to compete with Nickelodeon and the Disney Channel. They both had thriving live action series geared towards tweens and teenies.
Yeah, they should have stuck with the cartoons, Cartoon Network. They should have been known as the place where it's only cartoons. These were the places that you'd go for their stuff, the stuff that they had. We didn't watch iCarly because it was a live action show. We watched iCarly because it was iCarly. We'd go to Cartoon Network to watch all the Cartoon Network shows. We didn't want to watch iCarly on Cartoon Network.
In the late 2000s and into the early 2010s. And yeah, if you tuned in back then, it was tough to ignore the teen-oriented media that was making Nick and Disney a fortune. Even if you didn't watch them, chances are you've still heard of them. Look, I cannot stress enough how much Cartoon Network was getting absolutely smashed.
Yeah, I stopped watching Nickelodeon around the time Victorious was on. Like, let's see, I think iCarly was the last Nickelodeon show that I watched.
In the ratings by their rivals. High School Musical, Drake and Josh, Sunny with a Chance, iCarly.
Sunny with a Chance was right after I stopped watching Disney. I stopped watching Disney with Wizards of Waverly Place. I think that was the last thing I was watching on Disney.
Zack and Cody, Zoe 101, Breaking Bad, Hannah Montana, Ned's Declassified.
Just randomly throw Breaking Bad in there. Okay.
And my favorite.
Ned's Declassified, still one of my favorite shows of all time. I fucking love that show. So good. Still holds up.
Anime of all time, Cory and the House.
Yeah. You mentioned Cory and the House, but not That's So Raven. What is wrong with you?
Stop! He's already dead.
Their programming blocks.
Cory in the house. I used to watch that show. Unironically, I liked it.
Were doing so well that it had dropped Cartoon Network's overall ratings.
I liked that show a lot too. Mostly because I was watching Harry Potter and I was like, it's another Wizards thing.
By 30%. But
also, it had a lot of the vibes of Halloween Town. I liked Halloween Town a lot.
Cartoon Network absolutely noticed and decided if you can't beat them, join them. No matter how they approached it, this was an unusual jump for a channel specifically named for their focus on cartoons. But the ratings.
Oh wait, I remember this guy. He's that punk rock guy. Is it Andrew WK? Is that his name?
Did not lie. They would need to find a way to appeal to that weird sweet spot of their target audiences who think that they're too old to watch cartoons. And rather than get left in the dust, Cartoon Network would have to apply their own spin on things by creating gimmicky live-action shows to draw audiences back. The timing for this move was especially difficult to work with, too, with nearly every major step in developing new shows hitting another wall. Their original plan was launching a series of teen-oriented sitcoms to directly compete with Nick and Disney for their audience share.
Terrible idea.
But that stopped.
Yeah, that's not the vibe. That wasn't the vibes of Cartoon Network.
Once the 2007 writers' strike happened, lasting for 4 months from November 2007 to February 2008.
Good. That would have been a scourge on the history of cartoons.
2008. Yeah, not starting off on the best foot here. Cartoon Network did their first major pivot, shifting from
I remember this penguin.
to two.
What was with the penguin? What is this show? I remember
different
this.
genres, reality shows and game shows that fix their writing problem for
What
the
is this show? I need to know. Leave it in the comments.
most part. But they would have to think outside the box.
I remember
and
Bobby
experiment
Says.
with doing scrappier, more hands-on.
I didn't watch any of these. I wasn't watching Cartoon Network at this time. I was mostly playing video games at this time. But I remember seeing advertisements for this on TV whenever I'd every once in a while drop back in and watch a little bit of TV.
Programming. And by that, I of course mean that have to rip off popular shows from other networks, alter them for a younger audience, and see what sticks. All of this brings us to, drumroll, CN Real, a short-lived and ill-advised
I didn't even know this was a thing.
venture into live-action TV shows. Genuinely, a midlife crisis is the only honest way to explain how it came to exist as a programming block. And spoiler alert,
Hey, I remember, dude, what would happen. My little brother used to watch that show, like right after I stopped watching cartoons.
it didn't work.
Well, watching cartoons on these channels. I've never stopped watching cartoons.
Whatever, it's 2009!
Folks, I'm not looking forward to this one. I was there for this one. And let
I
me just say
wasn't,
up front,
thank God.
I had some trouble finding complete episodes for most of these shows. So prepare for a lot of Google images, okay? As far as I can tell, none of them are available for streaming at this point. So all of the footage I found to discuss them came from re-uploads. So apologies for the inconsistent quality here, folks, but it is what it is. So with all of that
Hashtag stop killing cartoons.
out of the way, it's time to get real and see what CN Real had to offer. Real quick, this video is brought to you by
I
Fume,
remember that I've got explosions ad.
the leader in flavored
Fum.
air. Folks, it's July.
I don't care about Fum.
Comes better to anywhere. Your lungs,
I'm
such
a
as
real
raspberry,
smoker.
and you can taste. I love it. Fidgeting with it, like seriously.
Does it
all
have
the time.
nicotine? If it don't, I don't want
it.
it.
Also feels great in my continuously invested,
Get outta here.
complimented
It's a long ad.
Spark and use my code SaberSpark, you'll get an awesome free topper.
Yeah, do that
when
if you want one
order
of
a
these.
Journey pack. I actually have one right now. I chew on it all the time. Again, that's tryfume.com/SaberSpark or hit up the QR code on the screen. Thanks to Fume for sponsoring our video. And now, back to the video. The first show on our list is The Othersiders. It ran from January 17th,
Othersiders.
2009 to October 30th, 2009.
What's this supposed to be like? Is this like a Ghost Hunters thing?
Their premiere series for Cartoon Network Real already took things in an unusual direction. You ready for this? The Othersiders follows a group of teenagers going on ghost hunting adventures in different
Yeah,
locations
that's the vibes I was getting from it.
to figure out if it's haunted
It was gonna either be that or telling ghost stories. That it was one of the two.
or not. Spoiler alert, no, it's not haunted. It's not phasmophobia. All of the 23 locations they featured on the show are located in California. I'm guessing just to keep production costs down. But my favorite aspect of it is that their ghost hunting strategy room is clearly a producer's 3-car garage with some laptops set up on a folding table. It feels very much like something a TV executive would think, yeah, that's good enough. It seems like they wanted something warehouse adjacent for atmosphere. But obviously, we're not going to pay for it. These kids don't even get the dignity of using a spare guest room for their
Yeah, they probably used the justification for this to be like, well, I mean, this is probably something that real kids would be doing. They'd be planning their ghost hunting adventures in a garage.
first live-action show. And yes, this will become a pattern going forward. As a show,
Yep,
The
it seems
Othersiders is
boring.
incredibly boring. The
Yep.
most money they spent on it was for the infrared camera rigs. But that's about it. There's honestly nothing about it that would interest kids over just watching a regular paranormal show like Ghost Adventures.
Right.
The content is pretty much the same in terms of setup.
Yeah, and it's just toned down. You might, if you want some real horror and scares, you go over to, what is it, Chiller? Was that the horror movie and horror TV show channel at that time? That's still around? Probably not.
But they managed to make it so much more boring in comparison.
Oh my, stop, don't move. that chair is not here before.
Oh no!
Ghost hunting
ghost
shows
moved it.
are relatively easy to stage, but their long-term success is dependent on the charisma of the host and exotic locations to intrigue viewers. I would normally never say this, but I really could have used some more Zach Baggins in here. Like, yeah,
I used to watch all these ghost hunting shows. I don't see myself as a kid watching this show and enjoying it. I'd rather just go and watch Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters.
he's kind of weird, but he's got stage presence.
Ghost Hunters International!
Instead, the outsiders feel very safe to the point of being forgettable and fails to actually scare the audience. But it still ran for 2 seasons with a total of 23 episodes. But yeah, that's a pretty bad start so far. Next, we got...
Yeah, they probably they probably started the second season before they launched the first season, and then when they finished the second season, they were like, shit, nobody liked the first season. Well, we're gonna have to get it out. Show's canceled, though.
Survive this. If you're ready to see kids braving the elements, learning survival tactics,
nature
and
show?
living off the land,
Actually, this seems
then go
kinda
watch
cool.
Kid Nation
I
instead.
remember this.
That show is fucking crazy, unintentionally hilarious, and I still don't understand how it exists.
Yeah, I remember this because I did a video on it. I did a reaction video on Kid Nation, and it was fucking insane.
I miss my mom.
They were like torturing these kids.
So dissolute.
And they were like talking these kids into being sad for the camera. And that's fucked up. It's like, do you miss your mom? Do you miss your mom? Huh? Yeah, bud, I know you do. And it's like, you brought that up. He didn't think that until you said it.
You know, drink your root beer and get it off my mind.
But if you're looking for something less unhinged, Cartoon Network Reel put out a clone of Survivor and called it Survive This, which sounds vaguely threatening.
I remember seeing this on the guide on the TV whenever I'd scroll through the channels, and I never watched it.
But okay, whatever, let's go. Right from the start, the vibes are totally off here. The first episode opens with a staged bus crash, resulting in 8 teenage passengers teaming up to adapt to the wilderness surrounding them. So we're talking hunting, gathering, foraging, building a fire, finding shelter, the whole shebang. Alongside them sometimes is this dude named Les Stroud. He's a Canadian
that
survival
guy.
expert
Yeah, he's the guy who made that Bigfoot movie.
who had his own wilderness show called Survivor Man,
That too.
which ran for 8 seasons. He functions as a guide and as the host of Survive This. He's also there to be weirdly
I actually know a guy who is friends with Les Stroud, believe it or not. It's fucking crazy that I know a guy that's just randomly friends with this guy.
threatening towards the contestants to make things more interesting and intense.
So that wreckage is now off limits. What you pulled from it is what you have to survive with.
And just so they know I'm serious.
Out of all of the shows on this list, Survive This is probably the biggest bummer of the entire lineup. I would be shocked if the kids involved weren't given some kind of compensation for therapy afterwards.
Right.
Every single one of them
Yeah, it seems like you're putting a bunch of kids through torture.
looks absolutely miserable. They're clearly sleep deprived, hungry, and minutes away from crying. Even the elimination process feels needlessly harsh. They only happen once their spirits are broken.
Which I can see doing this a little bit if you're a regular person and you're taking your child camping for like a week and you're like trying to get them used to the elements and, you know, teach them about nature. But when you turn it into a survival TV show, that's fucking gross.
Enough to make someone volunteer to leave. What's that? You give it up? Then get the fuck out of here. They shot
You get
13
nothing.
episodes in season 1.
You're a failure, and you will remember your failure for the rest of your life.
But only 10 of them made it to air in the US. You can buy the full season if you buy it on Apple TV Plus. But I otherwise couldn't find it on
Why
any
would you
other
buy
major
this?
service in the US. But if you
I bet you can find it on other services.
have a Canadian VPN though, you might be able to see both seasons. Next, we got Brain Rush. Okay, so genuinely, this show is the strangest on the list. Brain Rush involves teens riding on roller coasters and having to answer trivia questions at the same time.
I think this probably stemmed from the popularity of roller coaster videos on YouTube and internet spaces back then, because they were quite popular. Probably because they're fun things and the internet was relatively new, so obviously the fun things would be the most popular things.
And if that wasn't enough of a wacky twist for you, they only find out they're on a game show after they get on the ride.
Is Vin Diesel an actor or a product? Actor! Does Tom Brady play professional football or basketball? Football!
This is weird.
So if you've seen...
Yeah, I was about to bring this show up. What is it called? Cash Cab or something like that?
Cash Cab before?
Yeah.
It's pretty similar to that, but now with more screaming. Contestants go through 3 rounds of increasingly harder questions and more intense rides. The prize money per question increases each round, and if one of them makes it to the 3rd round, they can potentially win a cash prize of $5,000. Now, this one definitely feels the most gimmicky, because the gameplay is based around delayed response times from the roller coaster speed distracting players. But like, I don't know, there's really only so much you can do with something this specific. The budget for this show feels extremely limited in a very obvious way. Most of it seemed to go towards theme park tickets, shooting permits, and the host having a huge wad of cash on him the whole time to reward contestants. It sounds more like a Mr. Beast episode or something.
Yeah, this is pre-Mr. Beast, I guess. Yeah, Mr. Beast kind of like took all these kinds of vibes and he became what this was supposed to be, but a million times better.
Honestly, Brain Rush would have probably felt more at home on something like the Travel Channel, because at least then it could possibly focus on reviewing different coasters. And
definitely like a one-off show with like one group of kids for 6 episodes. I could see it, and it's just like one day. They filmed it in one day. I could see that. But if you're trying to actually turn it into like a franchise or something, what the fuck are you doing?
Theme parks at the same time. But no.
Also, whenever you're just making garbage shows like this, trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks, this one's just, why? Why'd you think this was the thing?
Oh, even that sounds a bit too complicated. Brain Rush was filmed on location at Knott's Berry Farm in California, but only aired for 6 episodes before being canceled. There were 2 sites that have re-uploaded most of the episodes, YouTube and the Internet Archive. Notably, they're both missing episode 4. But independent of those versions, the show is now considered lost media. Next, we have Destroy, Build, Destroy.
I remember this show. My brother used to watch it all the time, so I caught some of it.
Which is easily the best received and longest lasting show from the CN lineup. I gotta say, Destroy Build Destroyed had a pretty interesting premise. 2 teams of teens dismantle a piece of machinery and build a vehicle from the wreckage. Whichever team wins a challenge using their vehicle gets to destroy the losing team's project. Now, this is a pretty specific setup for a show. But I think
it's pretty specific, and it doesn't seem like that it's a good enough idea to last, but it is cool.
the odd premise really helped it to stand out compared to the other shows. Now, it might have been weird, but Destroy, Build, Destroy was their most original idea. I found an LA Times article about the concept, possibly being inspired by the Discovery Channel show Monster Garage. There's definitely some parallels, but honestly, I'm gonna give it a pass. Because the gimmick of destroying stuff takes center stage above—
Dude, everybody loves seeing stuff be destroyed. That's a great idea. Actually, honestly, if they would have had like a, remember that show Human Wrecking Balls, where it was just two bodybuilder guys, they'd go into an area and just destroy the place as much as they could with like a time limit? If they would have made a show like that, but with kids in it, I think it would have been a hit. And they could have totally done that at this time.
Everything else. The entire series was shot in the desert, probably so they wouldn't have to worry about property damage or noise violations. And it seems like most of their budget
Yeah, it is Andrew WK. That is his name. Holy shit.
Directly from buying broken down cars at the dump. And of course, high-grade explosives from God knows where. Like I said, folks, this was a weird one, but I can honestly say it wasn't boring. Destroy, Build, Destroy was produced by Scott Messick, who previously worked on Survivor, and then Dan Taberski, who had worked on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and has since produced a handful of acclaimed true crime journalism podcasts. Destroy Build Destroy also featured noted partying enthusiast and musician Andrew WK as the host. Guess what? I've actually met him before in real life.
That's
and
crazy.
He's really nice and very tall.
He seems like he's
and also
nice.
smelly, but I think that's like part of his partying brand. Like he had a white shirt on and it was like all ripped up, but he was really nice. He was a cool dude and he loved to party and he loved Pinkie Pie. It's true. Anyway, the biggest plus I can give for DBD is they know the right way to get kids excited about learning STEM subjects.
Andrew WK comes off as a fucking weirdo to me.
By blowing shit up. Is it over the top? Absolutely. But it worked, goddammit. Destroy Build Destroy probably would have made some more sense on Discovery Kids, but hey, for what it's worth, it's kind of fun. The entire series has been archived on YouTube, so out of this entire lineup, I would recommend this one the most. Give it a shot. And then we have Bobby Says.
Maybe.
Bobby
Definitely not
Says features
checking
a
this one out.
child star, Bobby Thompson.
Yeah, wasn't he on what was that LARPing movie? It was a movie with the LARPing. Oh man. It's on the tip of my tongue. Where they had to like be mentors to kids. You know what I'm talking about?
Who gives advice to viewers over footage of viral videos and through interviews with a celebrity guest. I wasn't initially familiar with Bobby, so I had to look up some of the roles he was best known for, which included Mr. T's son from Cloud with a Chance of Meatballs.
I didn't realize how much this looked like the Spider-Man movie. Like, is some of the same animation in the Spider-Man movies? Like the Spider-Verse? I think so.
And Ronnie Shields from the movie Role Models.
Role
He also had an
Models,
appearance
that's
in
it.
a really obscure Nick movie called Imagine That, starring
remember
Eddie
that.
Murphy.
Oh shit, I remember that.
This is basically Cartoon Network's version of Tosh.0 for teenagers. But I'm gonna be honest, you can tell they by far had the most limited budget making it. They had 2 cameras, a sound guy, and a bunch
Tony
of
Hawk.
outdated videos to work with, and man, does it show. The segments don't have a laugh track, thankfully, but the videos they source for them do not hold up at all. It all looks like it's from 1992. Like they're the leftovers from the cutting room floor of America's Funniest Home Videos, featuring nothing that modern kids would care about. Plus, you can absolutely tell the writers gave him very little to work with. The pacing is painfully slow too. Just a ton of dry-ass cake with no frosting here. 2/3 of the CN Real lineup barely made it through season 1, with Bobby Says having the briefest shelf life of all, airing only 6 episodes before being canceled. And now this series was easily the toughest to source for videos for the lineup. It's not streaming anywhere, and the only episode I could find—
Dude, we need to have a movement where we need to try and find all of these lost media and build a place where we can like support these creations, man. We have a place that we can watch them. I don't like it when media just gets lost and we can't view it anymore. I wish companies, when they give up their IPs, that you could just do whatever you want with them because they're not doing anything with them. That should be how, I think that's how it's supposed to be. But they do a whole bunch of weird workarounds where you just can't do it.
was episode 1 on Internet Archive. And then we got Dude, What Would Happen?, which was essentially a PG version of MTV's Jackass. Not to mention it was the second longest running
Also kind of like Nitro Circus.
show that made it past the CN Real curse. 3 teen boys, Ali, Jackson, and CJ, come up with a wide variety of scenarios to try out in real life. It can be simple, like leading a horse to water, or incredibly specific by making cool outfit designs using a flamethrower. Yes, that really happened.
Dude, I'm on fire! The flames are so high that I can't even see anything.
An honest question here, what
Man, I'd love to be on fire. That sounds really cool. Ha.
was Cartoon Network's explosives budget for all of this? Granted, I don't think it's a coincidence that their two best performing shows feature fire and destruction.
Right?
But you have to call in the
Like, they should have made more. They should have done my Human Wrecking Ball idea.
ATF for this? Because it really feels like a lot. Dude, what would happen had all of the violence and absurdity you would expect for a show meant for preteen boys? But it lacked the genuine chemistry between the cast and crew that made Jackass so memorable. Now, this show was probably the most ahead of its time, though, because many of the stunts they
Yeah, this is like a YouTube show.
pulled would work even better on a site like YouTube.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Beast and all of his guys, this is what they
Yeah, there was like a bunch of shows that were coming out that were like based on what people were seeing on the internet at the time. That they were before their time, before a bunch of YouTubers started doing this stuff. This was on TV. It's crazy.
basically do nowadays. Each of the main guys feel more like modern YouTuber stereotypes. They're loud, obnoxious, constantly mugging for the camera, and willing to do a lot of reckless stuff.
Yeah, I think somebody was like catching the vibes of this on the internet, knew that what was going to be happening, knew what was going to be holding up in the future.
For views. But dude, what would happen feels different because of the amount of network money put behind it. Plus, I can see the appeal. They do a lot of destructive crap that most parents would hate to see their kids recreate. They do the whole kids don't try this at home disclaimer. But come on, you know kids were causing havoc in the backyard after watching this show. Give me the lighter gas can, I got this. But one thing I could not ignore was the
That's funny because when I was a kid, I blew up an Xbox 360 in the woods and we almost started a forest fire using a 2-liter of gasoline.
crew involved. There's a lot of lingering adults in the background wearing lab coats who are obviously there for safety reasons, but they don't really become characters in the show as far as I can tell. Every single bit is oriented around the guys doing weird stuff. And sometimes a lab dude pops up for a few video frames. This show is loud and can be annoying at times, but they knew exactly what their audience wanted. Too bad that wasn't the case for the rest of the lineup.
See the premiere of Destroy, Build, Destroy, Saturday, June 20th at 8.
I don't remember seeing Real, but I remember these shows. Weird, really weird.
30. Part of the brand new Seeing Real on Cartoon Network.
So that leads us to the
Did
main
these shows keep going like after Seeing Real was not a thing anymore? Is that why I don't remember Seeing Real?
question of this video. What went wrong? To me, the biggest issue with this kind of
There's no
programming
vibes.
block
Like they lost their vibe. They had a vibe, and then they lost it by trying to do too many things.
is due to Cartoon Network's identity as a company. Both Nick and the Disney Channel have had a wide variety of cartoons and live-action shows airing on
And Nickelodeon shows feel like they belong on Nickelodeon, or felt like they did at that time. Same with Disney, they felt like they belonged on Disney. What at the time felt like these shows could have been on any network. They didn't really feel like Cartoon Network shows, especially the fact they weren't cartoons.
them since the beginning. Game shows, sitcoms, sketch comedy. Both of Cartoon Network's competitors had the chance to experiment with other formats in a way that did not feel forced. But Cartoon Network's branding is kind of a double-edged sword. It's strong and memorable, being cartoon-centric from the start.
I remember
but
Fridays.
they committed to that mission so effectively
I remember when they had Fallout Boy on Fridays.
that their identity was tied to showing cartoons, but not much else outside of that. So anything that
Man, Fridays on Cartoon Network was so good. I used to watch Fridays. I was watching the cartoons too that it was showing, but I wanted to watch the show between the shows. It was fun to watch, and I liked the people, I liked the characters, I liked the vibes. What happened to that, man? What happened?
deviated from that formula was going to be received differently by audiences. Many of these shows were critically panned and short-lived. Fans disliked them, critics hated them, and with a few exceptions, they're surprisingly hard to find online. Despite that, I wouldn't say all the concepts they tried out were bad ideas exactly. Okay, fine. Mostly, but not entirely. Some good did come out of it. I noticed quite a few comments on episode re-uploads for Destroy Build Destroyed stating it got them into studying engineering as kids, which is very cool to hear. But outside of that, Seeing Real remained unfocused and lacked the wide appeal needed to last multiple seasons. Mostly, it was just a really confusing move by the company as a whole. After going over all of the shows, I think it's pretty clear what the biggest issue was here. So many of these shows were just so boring. The majority of the shows involved in Seeing Real felt—
Yeah, they were made by a bunch of boring old people who had no idea what they were doing, who just got hired on because they had experience as an executive.
too derivative and safe to really stand out on a channel known for having a ton of personality. Instead, they just went with every predictable trend from the time period, but managed to make them boring.
That's what you get whenever you get things made by old people. They just chase trends because they don't actually follow the trends themselves, so they're like, okay, this is what the kids are into. Let's do all of these things. And then they don't actually know why the trend is happening or what the trend is about.
Only 2 of the shows included in Seeing Real lasted for more than 1 season. Dude, What Would Happen, and Destroy Build Destroy. Both of them made it to 37 episodes in total, and eventually came to an end on the same day, September 21st, 2011. Even if they felt out of place on Cartoon Network as a whole,
9/11.
there was enough of a hook there to keep viewers engaged with the premise. If you're gonna use basic cable money for violence and explosions, let alone on a show intended for children, hey, you might as well go all out. Well, at least in the explosive departments. And that is what both of these shows accomplished. Seeing Real was at this weird crossroads from the beginning. Most shows were firmly of their time. Some shows wound up being ahead of their time, but all of them were completely out of place. Shows like Destroy Build Destroy and Dude, What Would Happen translated much better onto platforms like YouTube. Those show concepts worked a lot better online, with smaller creators building their own niche channels towards a specific audience. Because the network's approach for Seeing Real felt way too insincere and
I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get that online appeal. They were trying to be like the online shows that were popping up. But that's just not what Cartoon Network was about. That's not why people watched it. And people watched these online type shows, these internet type shows, because they're on the internet. They don't want to watch them on cable with commercials.
Corporate minded to succeed naturally. After the Seeing Real block was canceled, they tried to venture into scripted live-action shows during 2010, but that did not really work out either. Both Tower Prep and Unnatural History were canceled after season 1, finally signaling to Cartoon
I figured that they would have went that route, but I had no idea. I missed all that.
Network to accept defeat once and for all and get back to their roots. This was also
in like 2011, that's when we started using Netflix, and I never went back to cable after that. Like cable and Dish. Never went back. Just was always on the internet after that since then. And now I'm not even on the streaming services.
Immediately before they had premiered some of their most successful shows in their entire history, like Adventure Time and
it's crazy. Like they had so much going on and it just fell off so hard so fast.
Show. It was a beautiful return to their roots, and it felt like the birth of an animation renaissance. So while it might have been an experimental time for Cartoon—
Oh, Uncle Grandpa, I remember that show. That's probably one of the shows that started to lead to the downfall of Cartoon Network.
I'm glad they finally made their way back to the drawing board, because cartoons are what they do best.
Cartoons.
Hell, I grew up with them in the 90s, and I still watch them to this day. Actually,
I watch a lot of these shows that he mentioned that he showed here. Still.
What if I ranked every cartoon on Cartoon Network from worst to best? No, that would be stupid. Let's fucking do it. But give me some time, folks.
I'll watch that.
This one will take a minute, but it will be worth it. Oh, wait, no. Does that mean I have to watch Annoying Orange? Is it too late to back out of this project?
I forgot that was even a thing. I forgot that it was a thing on the internet, and it had its own TV show. And my brother used to watch it. He was very, very, very young. I'm glad I don't have to think about any of this anymore. I just watch these old shows. I don't care about whatever's new because nothing's gonna top these old shows. I wish that it could. But like even today, kids don't have anything like we had it. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for all the notifications.